ಮಾಮೂಲಿ ಕಲ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ತಾಯಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಹೊಡೆದು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಬಂಡಿ ಬೇಕು ಕಾವಾಗಲ್ಲ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಹಣ್ಣು ನಾವು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಉಂಡಿದೆ
Sir, we are live to the world.
This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to Dr. TSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello. Let us introduce our guest of today without much waste, because the program has already been publicized. High Courts, Saviors of Personal Liberty. Is it right? A common man's paradise in a state, as far as the legal or law is concerned, to protect his interests, fundamental or whatever it is. When such is the case, are high courts living up to such expectations? If not, why? What is hampering a common man getting his due justice as per the constitution from the high courts? So we have the guest, none other than Sri B.V. Acharya, senior advocate from Bangalore. Namaste, sir. A hearty welcome to you, sir. At this age, on the request, because many have been requesting for months for his gracious and magnanimous deliverance of his experience in law. Let me just give you a brief hint, because this is for the sake of all those youngsters who want to pursue law or legal education, and all those activists who love to fight. Sri B.V. Acharya, hailing from Belpu village of Udupi district, had his early education in Mangalore and obtained law degree from Madras University in the year 1956. He was enrolled as advocate before the High Court of Mysore on 29th August 1957 and set up practice in Mangalore. In 1972, he shifted practice to Karnataka High Court. Now it is Bengaluru. He was the chairman of the Karnataka State Bar Council between 1979 and 1982. He has practiced in all branches of law. He has practiced on original side as well as appellate side too. He has practiced before the courts at all levels in the country, right from the court of Tahsildar up to the Supreme Court. He appeared as special public prosecutor in many sensational cases. He has also appeared before many commissions of inquiry. He was designated as senior advocate by the High Court of Karnataka during May 1989. In December 1989, he was first appointed as Advocate General of Karnataka. In all, he held this said position 5 times. It's a record for India, believe me. He has served as director of the Karnataka Bank for 8 years from 1996 up to 2004. In 2005, he was appointed as special public prosecutor in the disproportionate assets case against Selvi Jayalalitha, former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, and others. In that capacity, he appeared and argued the case before Supreme Court of India also. In 2006, he was honored by the High Court of Karnataka during its Golden Jubilee celebrations on his completing 50 years of practice at bar. In January 2009, the Mangalore University conferred on him the honorary doctorate recognizing the service rendered by him in the legal field. He has received many awards. For a term of 3 years, from August 2009 to 2012, he served as the chairman of BMS Education Trust, which managed various prestigious educational institutions, including 3 engineering colleges and 1 law college. He served as a member of the 19th Law Commission of India with a term of 2 years from 2010 to 2012. In November 2014, his autobiography, All from Memory, you all wanted, I will request him once again to speak on his autobiography. We will make it series. Don't worry. This you have reminded me time and again. I have to request him. So, in November 2014, his autobiography, All from Memory, was released by the Chief Justice of Karnataka, Justice D.H. Waghela, in the presence of former Chief Minister Sri M. Veerappa Moily and Sri K.K. Venugopal, Attorney General of India then. On 28/10/2017, Sri B.V. Acharya was felicitated on his completing 60 years of practice at the bar. The function was presided over by Justice M.N. Venkatachalaya, former Chief Justice of India, with Justice L. Nageshwar Rao, Judge Supreme Court of India, and Justice P. Vishwanatha Shetty, Honorable Lok Ayukta, as chief guest. In the same year, Bar Association of India honored him with Lawyers of India Day Award. Presently, at the age of 86 years, he is in active practice before the High Court of Karnataka, having completed 63 years at the bar, including over 30 years as a senior advocate. God bless him. Welcome to the special show, sir. What is happening with our High Court, sir?
Dr. Shiva Prasad Reddy and my friends, gives me great pleasure to address you today on a topic of some present day importance. Now, I need not tell you the importance of personal liberty. It is a most cherished and valuable right. If your liberty is taken away, what has been done cannot be undone later. Right to your reputation is now recognized as a fundamental right within the meaning of Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Now, reputation is very important. If a man is once arrested and his personal liberty is deprived of, he is deprived of his personal liberty, even for a day, it is a stigma on his character. Therefore, his reputation is gone. That is why the courts have recognized this as a fundamental right. Regarding the reputation, how important it is, in Bhagavad Gita, which is quoted by the Supreme Court of India, in chapter 2, verse 34, it says, Sambhavitasya sa kirti maranadapi kichati. That means, for a man with honor, ill fame is worse than death. That is the importance of personal liberty. Now, generally, nobody can take away your personal liberty, but the exception is police force or any other investigating agency has a right to arrest you and detain you, thereby depriving you of your personal liberty under certain circumstances. Now the question is, if at any stage you apprehend that your personal liberty is ought to be taken away by the police or any other authority by arresting you, what is your remedy? Now, it is here that the importance of the High Court comes. A damage once done by your arrest, subsequently it can never be undone. The damage done cannot be repaired. It's a irreparable damage. If a wealth is lost, you can regain it. If any property is lost, you can regain it. But a reputation once lost, it is gone forever. Therefore, it is more important to prevent your arrest and loss of reputation than approaching any authority subsequently, because that will not be an adequate compensation. So who can protect you and your liberty? According to me, in our country, it is only the constitutional courts which can protect. That is the Supreme Court of India under Article 32 of the Constitution, and the high courts in all the states can do it. Now, for a common man, for every attempt at arrest, to prevent an arrest, a common man cannot hope to go to Supreme Court of India for practical reasons, because there will be thousands of cases per day where an attempt is made to arrest a person which he wants to be prevented. Therefore, the only institution which can help you to prevent such unlawful arrest and deprivation of your liberty is the high courts of the various states. Now, what is the power which these high courts have? The arrest is always effected after a criminal complaint is filed. It may be false complaint, it may be frivolous complaint, it may be a complaint filed out of enmity, and with the help of the police, a case is registered and you are arrested. Now, if you want to prevent such an arrest being effected, the remedy of a citizen is only to approach the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court exercises its inherent power. It is an inherent power in the Supreme Court which alone has the power to quash a false complaint, to quash a criminal prosecution, to quash a charge sheet, and in the meantime, to pass an order, interim order, not to arrest the person. These powers are vested in the high courts, which are the inherent powers of the court. Now, let me very briefly explain to you what is this inherent power of the high court and how the high courts get it. Now, inherent power is a power which is inherent in the court. It is not a power conferred by anybody. It is not a power conferred by the Constitution. It is not a power conferred by any statute. But it is a natural, inherent power vested in a court of record. Now, high courts have this power. Now, the law itself, statute, recognizes this right. Section 482 of the Criminal Procedure Code, present code, recognizes this right. It verbatim reads like this: nothing in this code shall be deemed to limit or affect the inherent powers of the High Court to make such orders as may be necessary to give effect to any order under the code, or to prevent abuse of process of any court, or otherwise to secure ends of justice. This is what the section itself recognizes, that high courts have inherent power. Those powers have to be exercised to prevent abuse of process of court or to meet the ends of justice. Ultimate goal is justice. Now, preventing an arrest which is unlawful is doing justice to the citizen. So this power in the high courts, recognized by the statute itself, and the Supreme Court in number of rulings have said that. I'll just refer to one if you are interested. In 2004, 6 SCC page 522, in the case of Golconda Lingaswamy, it says, I will read very briefly. the section does not confer any new power on the High Court. 482 doesn't confer power. It only saves the inherent which the court possessed before the enactment of the court. It only says that three circumstances under which inherent power can be exercised, namely, one, to give effect to the order under the code, to prevent abuse of process of court, three, otherwise to secure ends of justice. It is neither possible nor desirable to lay down any inflexible rule which would govern the exercise of inherent power. No legislative enactment dealing with procedure can provide for cases that may possibly arise. That is why what that inherent power is not explained. You can exercise it in any manner for any purpose, and to ultimate object would be to secure the ends of justice. And different situations, different circumstances, different types of orders may have to be passed depending on the facts and circumstances of each case. So this is the power which authorizes the High Court, as I said earlier, to prevent an arrest so that your personal liberty is saved. It is in this context I am saying that it is the High Courts in this country which are the saviors of the personal liberty of the citizens. This is the only forum which has power to say you don't arrest. Neither the subordinate courts, Justice Court, or any other court has no such power. It is only High Court and Supreme Court. Supreme Court, it is not possible for common court. So you rely only on the High Court for this power. And how the High Court function has this power? Because it is an inherent power. This inherent power should therefore be preserved and retained to enable the High Court to protect the liberty of a citizen. This is the importance of the High Court. And by and large, I can say without any hesitation that the High Courts all along have been exercising this power for the purpose of quashing frivolous criminal cases, quashing frivolous charge sheets, quashing frivolous FIRs, and in the meantime, directing the police not to arrest. And it is in this manner that the power is exercised by the High Court all over the country. Now, only consideration for the High Court to exercise this power is it to prevent process of abuse of process of court, or to meet the ends of justice. Ultimate goal is justice. If an arrest is unlawful or illegal, then the High Court will exercise this power. This power, nobody can tinker with it or curtail it or withdraw it, because it is not given by anybody. If it is the Constitution which has given the power, by Constitution amendment, it can be taken away. If the statute has given, statute can be amended to withdraw or modify. But since this is an inherent power, no power on earth has a right to withdraw or modify this power of the High Court. That is important. But when this is the position and the High Courts have been exercising this power for the purpose of protecting the personal liberty of the citizens, unfortunately, Supreme Court in a number of decisions have been trying to curtail this power. Directly, Supreme Court cannot do it because it has admittedly no power to interfere with the inherent power. But in an indirect manner, the Supreme Court have been trying to curtail this power or restrict this power. Some of the recent rulings of the Supreme Court, of course, relying on earlier cases, have the effect of curtailing this power by using the expression like this, that it should be exercised only in rarest of rare cases, equating it to death sentence, and to be exercised only in exceptional cases when it is an extraordinary power to be exercised sparingly. This way, by these borrowed expressions, the inherent power of the high courts are sought to be curtailed, which will directly affect the common man, because the high courts do not feel free to give orders to protect the citizen because of the chilling effect of these judgments of the court. Now, for students of law, a matter of interest could be there is also inherent power in the courts. So, for a civil law is concerned, Section 151 of the Civil Procedure Code says that power, just as 482, 151 CPC also is not conferring any power. It also saves the power. I already read out 482, which only says the inherent power is recognized and retained. So 151 also says saving of inherent power of court. Nothing in this code shall be deemed to limit or otherwise affect the inherent power of the court to make such order as may be necessary for the ends of justice. This is the only consideration. The power is exercised to ends of justice or to prevent abuse of process of court. Now, one fundamental difference between this inherent power, civil and criminal, is civil court, all the courts have this power, right from Munsi has inherent power, civil judge has inherent power, and High Court has inherent. But in the case of criminal law, 482 specifically says it is only the High Court. Therefore, the fundamental difference is that when it comes to a question of criminal law, it is only the High Court which has this inherent power. And if that inherent power of the High Court alone, which is a much higher authority, then the direct effect of such curtailment falls on the citizen, because the High Courts will hesitate to exercise their power for fear of criticism by the Supreme Court, whether this goes contrary to these dictums. That's all. Now the Supreme Court itself writes, there are so many judgments in which they have emphasized lofty ideals regarding the importance of personal liberty as enshrined in Article 21 of the Constitution. And the Supreme Court also has explained the evil and dangerous consequences of deprivation of personal liberty. But such judgments are rare. It is only some celebrities who would have approached the Supreme Court to get such protection. A common man can't go. Even if he can go, they will not entertain. Whenever a common man, even if he files a petition under 32, straight away they will say, you go to High Court under 482. He is immediately sent there. So he comes here. When he comes to the High Court, the High Courts, well, you have a case, maybe it's a frivolous case and a false case, or there is real threat of arrest and deprivation of liberty. But the courts hesitate. This may not be a rarest of rare case, one judgment it will be shown. This may not be an extraordinary circumstance or an exceptional case. And I can use it sparingly. Supposing today there are 20 cases, which are all good cases, frivolous cases are filed and threat of arrest is there. Judge will think I can't give it in so many cases. I have to restrict it to the limitation of the Supreme Court. This is how indirectly the High Court judges are virtually made hesitant to grant relief to the criminal. Now, why should it be in rarest of rare cases? If filing of frivolous cases and attempt of arrest for wrongful arrest or illegal, if they are very rare events, then I can understand you saying you exercise only in rare cases. But as on today, our practical experience is there are many frivolous false cases filed in some cases in connivance with the police only to get the man arrested once. Ultimately, nothing will happen. Once you arrest him and detain him, then he will come to terms. This is a case of misuse of the criminal law for either settling a civil dispute or for other illegal motive. This is what is happening, and this is what I say. A lawyer with experience or a judge with experience of trial courts will know what is happening, how this right to arrest is misused by the police at the instance of interested parties. Now, very recently, Supreme Court itself has said, I may say, Justice Mohan Chandra Gowda was one of the best judges in the Supreme Court. Only last month he passed away. Just before he passed away, he gave this judgment in the case of Kishan Lal and others versus State of UP. It was decided on 8th March 2021, a month before his demise. Then this is what he says. The justice dispensation machinery in India is plagued with backlogs, with 70% of the pendency before subordinate courts being on the criminal side. This is the volume of pendency of a significant factor in this backlog is vast mass of frivolous litigations, vast mass of frivolous litigation instituted year after year by litigants with an intent to use courts of justice for their own mischievous ends. Curtailing such vexatious litigation is thus a crucial step towards more effective justice system. Now, this is the position, this is the accepted position, but yet the High Court are directed to use this power sparingly. As a fact, common experience is substantial number of complaints filed resulting in FIRs are frivolous and vexatious, and in many cases on the basis of prior understanding between complainant and police, mostly in disputes arising out of contracts and family disputes. In many cases, in respect of a contract civil dispute, the party wants to take quick relief. So, in understanding with the police, you file a criminal complaint and breach of contract is converted into breach of trust and he is arrested and he is asked, better you settle the claim. Otherwise, we continue to spend in station. In such cases, it is only the High Court which is capable of protecting a man from illegal arrest. In many cases, such cases are filed only to harass the party. They are not interested in final outcome. Once he is arrested and his reputation is lost, for him it is worse than death. Therefore, the importance of prevention rather than any relief letter. Supposing there is an illegal arrest, you may file a case later or a civil case for compensation, but that will not restore to you. Now the legislature, knowing the importance of such prevention, has inserted section 41 and subsequent sections in the code that where punishment is less than 7 years, you shall not arrest unless for special reasons to be recorded you are going to arrest. But all these provisions and the Supreme Court, at least in one important case, Arnesh Kumar, 2014 HSCC 273, has said you follow these guidelines under 71. Now, arrest is not compulsory in every case. Moment you file a FIR, you need not arrest a person. Law is, power to arrest is one thing, but exercise that power is another thing. There are many important cases which I know where accused was never arrested. FIR, investigation, charge sheet. Then the court will summon him. In fact, you all know such a famous case as JMP's bribery case, where PV Narasimha Rao was accused number 1 and Bhuta Singh was accused number 2, and Bhajanlal and others were all accused of bribing the MPs. All these people were never arrested. They were all questioned, investigation took place, and charge sheet is filed. So arrest is not necessary in many cases. So Supreme Court also has said, don't go on arresting people in every case. With all this, what happens is, moment FIR is filed, arrest takes place. Only 3 days back, I found in the newspaper, Madhya Pradesh High Court has written a lengthy judgment pointing out how, notwithstanding section 41 CRPC and the guidelines of the Supreme Court, arrests are indiscriminately made. And in many cases, arrest only 24 hours power for police. Then produced before magistrate, even magistrates many a times very routinely order remand. So Madhya Pradesh High Court again laid guidelines. Guidelines are there, but in practice you are suffering. This is the position. This is why I am objecting to the Supreme Court unnecessarily curtailing the power of the High Court to quash the proceeding or to grant interim order, not to arrest, not to take coercive steps, or if investigation itself is stayed, they can't arrest. So these are the interim orders with the court. Now, even regarding that, the High Supreme Court has put in such unwarranted restrictions. I can understand the Supreme Court in a given case, order is bad, they can quash it. But can't lay down so many parameters and say, you can't pass an order not to arrest, you can't pass an order not to take coercive steps. Such power is not there. Now, the provocation for me to choose this topic is a recent decision of the Supreme Court in the case of Niharika Infrastructure versus State of Maharashtra, decided on 13/4/21, only last month. The Supreme Court has ruled that while dismissing petition under 482 of Code of Criminal Procedure or Article 226 of the Constitution, High Court has no power to pass such orders as directing the police not to arrest, not to take coercive action in a given case. It is set law that police need not arrest an accused merely because they have power to arrest. Power to arrest must be exercised only if the same is absolutely necessary for the purpose of investigation. I have come across 2 cases when charge sheets have been filed without arresting the accused, mentioning that the accused have not been arrested. If in a given case, High Court on examining the material that arrest in the case is wholly unnecessary and arrest if effective will be totally unjustified, why should not the court pass such an order to meet the ends of justice, even though at that stage it may not be inclined to for the proceeding by saying that you can't pass such interim order? The Supreme Court is virtually modifying the inherent power which the High Court possesses. The Supreme Court now debars High Court from passing such orders on the basis of purely theoretical proposition that it amounts to interference with the power of police to investigate, which includes power to arrest. If in a given case, police intend to misuse the power to arrest in violation of fundamental right of citizen, who else other than the High Court can protect the citizen? As I said, the approaching Supreme Court is beyond question. Therefore, the Supreme Court cannot inject the High Court to be issuing such orders as not to take coercive action. Apart from legal niceties involved in such orders, such orders have prevented the police from harassing poor and innocent citizens. This is my experience. In many cases, Supreme Court, High Courts have said, don't take coercive action or don't precipitate. Even if that expression is used, that has helped hundreds of cases where citizens were not arrested and harassed by the police because the High Court is used to the matter. There is the interim order. Now, Supreme Court says you can't pass such order except in exceptional cases and rarest of rare cases. This is causing, you are thereby preventing the High Courts from performing their constitutional duty of protecting the liberty of the citizen. By saying you are interfering with the power of the police to investigate, you are saying their power to arrest. Now, on whom do you lay more confidence? Please see, does the Supreme Court have more confidence in police inspector and sub-inspector to exercise discretion to arrest, or the judges of the High Court to exercise that power? If a sub-inspector can decide not to arrest, cannot a High Court judge, in exercise of inherent power, after knowing the facts of the case, you don't arrest in this case? Now, why that? In other words, the Supreme Court has expresses more confidence in police at the present stage than the High Court judges. They rely upon a decision of the Privy Council in 1943 when they said power of police to investigate should not be lightly interfered with. Now all of us know the standard of police and the standard investigation and the integrity of the police officers at that time and the position today. Therefore, I say the result of all this is Supreme Court having more confidence in police than the Supreme Court. The result is police excesses go unabated as seen from the press reports. Daily, there is even today morning I saw online Telangana Chief Minister has ordered a special inquiry into the death of a Dalit in police custody. This is today. No, it is not a rare occurrence. Daily you say police brutalities. Now in preventing that, the High Courts play a major role and therefore their power should not be curtailed. It is correct that the Supreme Court needs anxiety to protect the so-called right and power of police to investigate appear to be in the dark of the dangerous consequences of this its orders on innocent citizens whose precious right to personal liberty is violated with impunity by the police, who will now be more emboldened to continue saying with wrong notion of implied encouragement by the Supreme Court. Then you see, I say the courts are not subordinate to the Supreme Court in the sense that there are the Supreme Court has no administrative control over the High Courts. High Courts are as independent as the Supreme Court. It is an independent constitutional authority. That is why you might have noticed in large number of Supreme Court cases where matter is remanded to High Court and they are to dispose of within 3 months. They never said High Court is directed to dispose of within 3 months. They always say the High Court is requested to dispose of within 3 months or 6 months or requested to dispose of expeditiously, because Supreme Court also knows that High Court is a independent constitutional functionary. But Supreme Court has power on the judicial side. If one order not to arrest or caution of a investigation is bad in law, Supreme Court undoubtedly has the power. I am not questioning the power of the Supreme Court to examine individual case and to take a conclusion. If the order is bad, you can set aside. But you cannot beforehand say you can't pass the order of this nature at all. That is my grievance. This is the fundamental difference which I am pointing out. Such individual cases, some wrong orders, they are always passed. Even Supreme Court orders are subsequently varied by the larger benches. So, individual case you say order is bad, you interfere. But don't have this general direction not to pass it on or to categorize. You pass it only rarest of rare case or exceptional case or extraordinary case. Therefore, even in Supreme Court other day on 1/6/2021, a bench of the Supreme Court comprising Dr. Chandrachud and M.R. Shah lamented how 90% of the cases listed before them on that day were frivolous cases, and further observed system is becoming dysfunctional due to frivolous cases unable to hear matters of importance. This is the situation in Supreme Court, what is the position in Magistrate Court? They are flooded with frivolous cases. Most of them are disputes of civil nature. The result is very grave. The magistrates are not give due attention to genuine criminal cases. A case of robbery, dacoity, rape, murder, and serious offences. Because of these unwanted restrictions and liberty to the people to file frivolous cases, these cases must be put an end to. Therefore, the curtailment of the power of the High Court has two bad effects. One is the citizen doesn't get relief. Other is backlog of cases. Magistrates are not able to give due attention to the genuine cases. They have to spend a lot of time on frivolous cases. Therefore, for instance, I blame the legislature for this check bouncing cases. Why a pure civil liability is converted into criminal liability? Every magistrate is flooded with these check bouncing cases. And even those post-dated checks where you can't have mensia, mere inability to pay cannot be an offense. Now, for everything, the government says we will have special courts for this category, special court for this category. Now we have such special court for corruption, special court for ED, special court for economic offences, special court. But merely creating special courts will not help us. Ultimate idea should be to cut short these frivolous litigation and prevent civil cases being converted into criminal cases. Having regard to the heavy penalty, attempt should always be to cut short frivolous cases and not prolong them. While the Supreme Court was very enthusiastic in safeguarding the statutory power of the police to including power to arrest, which is often misused, it has not shown similar concern to protect the inherent powers of the high courts to prevent abuse of process of law and to meet the ends of justice. According to me, more than what we say, it should be the responsibility of the Supreme Court to protect and safeguard and retain the inherent power of the high courts so that they can do justice and give relief to the poor and innocent citizens in appropriate cases who can't approach the Supreme Court. The expression inherent power is not capable of precise definition, and its ambit and width also cannot be explained easily. Hence, section 482 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, while recognizing such power, has only specified the object of exercise such power. Any exercise of such power should be to prevent abuse of process of court or abuse of process of law or to meet the ends of justice. Inherent power vested in such a high authority as the high courts and not the subordinate criminal courts. But the former should be trusted to exercise the same judicially in appropriate cases. My own experience is, even with these limitations, the high courts are exercising restraint, but yet are exercising very properly and judicially. In fact, as a practicing lawyer, I know how difficult it is to get an order of stay of an investigation or stay of arrest. It is They do it casually. High Court judges. They know their responsibility. They grant it only in appropriate cases, but don't put the limitation that it should be extraordinary case or an exceptional case or a rarest of rare. If they do it only in appropriate cases, and they are actually doing only appropriate cases, the power may have to be exercised under varying situations and different facts and circumstances, hence may necessitate passing of variety types of orders to achieve the object. Therefore, the High Court must have the freedom to pass such orders as may be necessary or desirable to meet the ends of justice in a given situation. Interest of justice requires that the Supreme Court should not curtail this choice of High Court in any manner, either with regard to the nature of orders to be passed or the situations and circumstances in which they may be passed, as it is not possible to foresee or contemplate all eventualities. Exercise such power can be effective and meaningful to protect the liberty of a common man, an ordinary litigant, and save him from police excesses or illegal actions only if the High Court have such freedom without restriction. Interest of justice demands that this position should be clarified by the Supreme Court in a strongly worded judgment at the earliest, so that the High Courts can continue to be the saviors of the right of personal liberty of the citizens. Now, before concluding, I may mention only one thing. Sometimes it is said against detention and all that, there is a remedy of anticipatory bail. Why couldn't you go there? No, from my experience as a law, I can say this provision of anticipatory bail has not been as effective as it should have been. In the first place, some of the states, 498 section is not available. In fact, in UP, there is no provision for anticipatory bail. Even in places where there is such a provision, generally, neither the Sessions Judge nor High Court grants interim order immediately. They give notice to the police, and generally minimum 2-3 weeks time is taken, and thereafter it is heard. After 1 or 2 months, even that is such a big period. Can an accused afford to abscond for 2-3 months? The moment he is arrested, the petition becomes infructuous. Unless, I am told, in some states like Bombay, at preliminary hearing, sometimes they grant interim orders. But in a state like Karnataka and other states, interim relief is not granted. The result is a anticipatory bail relief is not very effective. It is only a 482 petition and an interim order by the High Court by virtue of its minimum power which is become effective. Therefore, my ultimate submission is for the High Courts to continue to save the common citizen from unlawful or illegal arrest. It is the High Court alone that can do it, and Supreme Court should not curtail that power in any manner. Thank you for your patience.
Not at all, sir. It is such an interesting stage because these days we find journalist after journalist being arrested as if they are traitors or terrorists. They are kidnapped in Hyderabad. Such incidents have been on the rise. This is all because maybe they don't like some type of information to reach people. That is what I'm trying to impress you, abuse of power. As you rightly stated, whether you try to abuse the courts or process of law or to meet the ends of justice, the inherent power of high courts should come to the rescue of a common man, citizen, because ultimately every citizen is a constitution himself. People have to understand because the lack of awareness amongst the citizens is what is really making their life difficult. Police using or utilizing those powers to arrest, as you rightly said, either to settle a civil dispute or otherwise in connivance, as you have been putting it across. So in such cases, this show, this live show today makes it abundantly clear to all citizens that it is their right to seek justice from the High Court itself. You need not rush to the Supreme Court for every trivial matter because we are not celebrities. Even if you go under 32, they will put it aside because you are not a celebrity. Under 226, you have to come to High Court. But at the same time, as you rightly stated, Acharya ji, again I call you as Acharya, you are Guru. For me, you are a Guru because you preach what is law and how a common man should understand, interpret, and when there is abuse against him, when the ends of justice are not being met, it is the High Court which has got its own inherent independent power and which allows it to function independently to come to the rescue of such abuse of CRPC either by police or in connivance with someone not to arrest. And it can, I don't know whether it can quash even the frivolous or false FIRs and charge sheets also. It can, where it can quash or stop the investigation also, so that, as you rightly said, once arrested, the reputation of a citizen is put to sword. Once you lose the reputation, it is as good as inflicting death sentence on him. Big words you have used, sir. I hope, because that is what personal liberty all speaks. I hope with this, even the police personnel who are facing, as you rightly pointed out, the lock-up death, the chief minister, after some legislators from other party met him, and how is that he is the law and order minister, he doesn't know. When he goes around in the same area, Bongir, inaugurating various other things, because he is the chief minister, he has got privy to all information. Should someone go and appeal to him that there has something happened, initiate action. That the death happened, death of a Dalit woman. I don't know where these organizations, which always flout when election time or otherwise, to settle personal scores, but something is inflicted on an innocent Dalit woman. Where are they? Where are they? So in such cases, and also, as you rightly pointed out, the Supreme Court of India, through this show, through B.V. Acharya ji, we humbly appeal, kindly don't interfere with the inherent powers of High Court. Allow the High Court to function independently so that it can come to the rescue of a common citizen from getting arrested in frivolous or cooked up cases, I say in common man's language, so that his personal liberty is not put at stake, as you pointed out through Article 21. Then there is no meaning of constitution, personal liberty, citizen, he being himself constitutional authority, it is his own taxes through which this entire system, whether police, judiciary, for that matter, every organ of the society functions. That means he is supreme. Am I right, sir? The citizen himself is supreme, and he should be well informed, and he should not, no one should curtail or abuse his powers. Am I right, Acharya ji?
Correct, correct.
Should we appeal to High Court judges also that they should understand what is the inherent power? All High Courts of across India. I want a fervent appeal to go from a lawyer of your repute. I want you to appeal to all the High Court judges.
No. So far as High Court judges are concerned, there is no difficulty. They are trying their best to give relief. All that is now required is the Supreme Court must clarify that the High Court judges are free to take their own decision uninfluenced by the wordings of the Supreme Court that you do it only in rarest of rare cases, only under extraordinary circumstances. You clarify that you exercise your power depending on the facts of each case for the purpose of meeting the ends of justice. The High Court judges should not be kept in a mode of fear that Supreme Court may find fault with me if I give this relief to citizen. Such a fear should not be there in the mind of the High Court because of the judgments of the Supreme Court. It is only a case of using unwarranted expressions like rarest of rare cases and to be used sparingly and only in exceptional circumstances. That alone stands in the way of the High Courts exercising their power fully. They are doing their best. There is no doubt about it.
But as you rightly said, rarest of the rarest cases means frivolous cases also should be rarest of the rarest. But every day, if you have 90-95% flooded with all those frivolous cases, as you rightly said, the lower courts are also facing the same heat. And what are those sections, sir? 482 of the criminal procedure, that inherent strength, it is derived for high courts. And the subordinate courts, what is that you called even the civil procedure code, the section?
Civil procedure code, even lower courts have got inherent power. But criminal procedure code,
Only high court.
criminal law, only High Court. Therefore, all the more important, a magistrate or a session judge can't say don't arrest. After arrest, remanding, not remanding, all that is with him. And after investigation is over, to discharge the accused, all that power may be there. But at the stage of investigation, power to quash a FIR, power to quash an investigation, power to quash a charge sheet, this power is only the High Court. That is why High Court must be given full freedom. In civil procedure, inherent power is there to every court, every hierarchy, but not criminal. That is the fundamental difference. In fact, Supreme Court, in a number of rulings, they have clarified subordinate criminal courts have no inherent power. 482 itself says nothing in this court will affect the inherent power of the High Court. Whereas 151 CPC says nothing contained in this court shall affect the inherent power of all the civil courts.
Wonderful.
Entire civil courts.
But how is that suddenly a man or a citizen is picked up and all of a sudden they take him to a magistrate's house? And how is that the magistrate doesn't even give a chance to the accused? Straight away is remanded.
See, here again, as I pointed out, Madhya Pradesh High Court 3 days back gave a ruling. They have specified the role of a magistrate also. Generally, the accused is brought, this just given into custody. In a routine manner, they must examine. They have said, if the magistrate finds that the arrest is not justified, he need not remand. He can straight away release him on his own bond. In fact, I think last time I had told you,
Yes.
Madras High Court complimented a magistrate because he said a journalist was arrested on, as it happens now very frequently, charge of sedition. If you criticize the central government, it is treated as sedition and arrested. And he said, this doesn't come under sedition. I am not going to remand. The responsibility of detention after 24 hours is of the magistrate. So magistrates must exercise greater responsibility before just saying remand. They have a right even to release him on his own bond. In that case, the police will be helpless. And if in a few cases it happens, the police will be more careful in arresting and producing before magistrate. And this happens even in the case of, if I may give one instance, Mr. Karunanidhi. Mr. Karunanidhi was arrested at dead of night on a charge of corruption in respect of construction of a flyover about which he might not have known anything. Midnight, he was arrested, forcibly taken to the magistrate. The magistrate blindly remands him to custody. This is what happens. So, Supreme Court also has said in some cases, magistrates must own the responsibility. They must be careful before remanding a person. You please see about that case in Toothukudi case, where
Yes.
father and son were arrested on the ground of keeping shop open after curfew hours. The shocking, the magistrate with all the injuries on his person remanded him to custody. He is not released on bail. Even the latest I can give, I don't want into any political arena. So far as Arnab Goswami is concerned, he was arrested and produced before the magistrate. The lawyer for Goswami argued for bail and contended that his arrest is unjustified. He was arrested in connection with the charge of 306. That is
Abatement to-
attempt to abatement. I referred to last time.
Right.
Now the magistrate in the order writes, I am satisfied that there is no prima facie case and arrest is bad. But still, he did not grant bail, remanded him to custody. And the Supreme Court found the magistrate should not have remanded him when once he is convinced that arrest was bad. But with all that, you see, the High Court did not grant him bail. It said, you go to the suggestion. Then he had to approach Supreme Court. Because it was Arnab Goswami, Supreme Court also entertained that matter. Otherwise, if the Supreme Court also has said, after all, the High Court has only said, go to Sessions Court, you go there, then he should have inside for 1 or 2 months. So it all depends on the judges. Magistrates, according to me, must be very, very careful and take full responsibility for a remand of the accused. And in fit cases, they must release them on their own bond without committing them, remanding them to detention.
See, here the main problem is the lower courts, whether magistrates or otherwise, even in some matters like Mumbai High Court, are they getting influenced by the ruling fraternity or what?
I can't see that.
Because,
I can-
as you rightly said,
I can say they were not right because Supreme Court has said so.
I know. Now even they have added some supplementary charges and PRP ratings and all. They have put something against Arnab Goswami. That's fine. It's okay. But as you rightly said, the magistrates and the High Court should come to the rescue of a common citizen. We don't say that there should not be investigation. Of course, yes, the police should investigate on any proper complaint, but not frivolous complaints in tune with someone, so that you are trying to put the other citizen into uncomfortable positions and threatening him with arrest or remand. When such is the case, is it not the personal liberty at stake? As rightly pointed out by B.V. Acharyaji, when the reputation goes, it is as good as a death sentence. At least this,
See, the point is, in a given case, as I said, the court may feel, since the investigation is in progress, at this stage, to quash it may be premature. Therefore, it is in half a minute. But the court is convinced that this is a case where arrest is unnecessary. Even police have a discretion either to arrest or, and court feels this is a case, arrest is unnecessary. Can't it say so? Now in this latest case which I pointed out,
yeah,
that Niharika case, they said it is a case where division bench of a high court, division bench, when the adjournment was sought for, it was a 482 petition. They adjourned it by 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Then they said, don't take any coercive action. Investigation was not prevented. And he had already a protection of not to arrest in the anticipatory bail since for 1 year. Now, such an order, temporary order, not to take coercive action. The Supreme Court ultimately passed that order. We should not have passed such an order. In a pending matter, when a division bench adjourns by 2 weeks, in the meantime, cannot High Court judges say, don't take coercive action. And what is the coercive action he could have taken? Arrest. There was already an order, not arrest. Only coercive action could have been to enter your house at midnight, search, seize some property. All that is prevented. And if investigation was pending for 1 year, and if for a period of 3 weeks or 1 month, there is an order not to take coercive action, is it a case where Supreme Court should interfere? That too, they say, we have heard the advocates at great length, 67 pages, judgment is written. Lawyers are already at great length, and in this pandemic, Supreme Court is taking up only very urgent matters. Because what of time in such a situation against an interim order of this nature before by a division bench? Should the Supreme Court spend all the time? I really fail to understand. And the dispute was between 2 companies. And the party approached the Supreme Court is not the investigating agency. Investigating agency is not the complainant to the police. His side of harassing the opposite side is heard by the High Court. Now, there the Supreme Court says that order is quashed, set aside. Very surprising judgment.
yes, as you rightly pointed out, it is surprising. I hope Supreme Court exercises its powers in such a way that it grants that independent nature to the High Court. It will not interfere with the inherent power of the High Court, so that High Court will come to the rescue of a common citizen in case of frivolous cases wherein the abuse of court or abuse of process of law, and where there is the ends of justice are not met for the common citizens. When such is the case, the High Courts have to exercise their power, and at the same time, High Court, as you rightly reflected, the Madhya Pradesh High Court judgment of 3 days back, wherein it has clearly stated to magistrates, when police arrest, they have the responsibility to examine, and even the injuries and all, the same way you are sending them to remand, you examine whether there is a fit case for judicial remand or not. In such a way, you will come to the rescue of the Article 21, the personal liberty. And definitely, even the police now have to understand, even in spite of all these things, when they are not able to file a charge sheet and make the investigation to get into progress mode, it really is nothing but trying to play to the tunes of someone, and such is the case. The real justice will not be done, and it will be hampering the personal liberty of an individual. So, at least I hope even the police should also exercise restraint, and they should focus on the need wherein they can investigate, and the need be in such cases the arrest mode can be applied, but not in a terrorist or traitor way trying to threaten the people. That should not be the case, because people come to you with so much of confidence and you are the one to protect them. In such a case, I hope even the police, the CRPC, everything, IPC, everything will be in tune with the constitution, in tune with the personal liberty, and the high courts, at least now, I hope, will try to exercise their inherent strength to come to the rescue of the citizens, because the citizens are the constitutional authority, and through their taxes all these organs of the constitution run. And such cases, when a constitutional authority, a citizen himself, finds in such disarray because of abuse of power, abuse of process of law, the not meeting the ends of justice, it is High Court, and I only hope the Supreme Court also will honor all this and will come to the rescue of the citizens at large. Thanks a lot, sir. Very kind of you. Please, please.
There's a Madhya Pradesh judgment pronounced 3 days back. There are two sections they have made. One about the guidelines to the police, other guidelines to the magistrate, how they should act. It's a very good judgment.
If possible, we will try to discuss purely on Madhya Pradesh judgment one day, sir, if you give time, and your autobiography also. They say you have so many things are there for the legal education and common citizens. So I request you to grant us some time next week at least. We will discuss Madhya Pradesh, because guidelines to police and guidelines to the magistrate, which are more important now, fundamental, and then your autobiography also. I hope you will grant us some time so that we can discuss it. I hope you enjoyed coming on Dr. TSPR channel live. So citizens, be aware of your responsibilities, of your rights. So take care. See you with the next topic. Once again, sir,
Thank you.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bless us all. Thank you, sir.